What's up, tribe? Happy Sunday, you guys. I hope everybody is having a great day. Look, Candace, where you been, head Ursha? We've been looking for you. Hey, boo. It's so good to see you. It is so good to see everybody. I hope everybody is having a great day. How you guys doing? Let's get ready to get into this because, baby, what's up, little baby? Let me say hi to the people. Lemon Kush, what's up? Hey, Mr. Willie Brown, how are you? Nicole Stevens, Keisha, how you doing? How you doing? Look, let's just go ahead and get into the things, honey. Let us go ahead and get into the things. So this is going to be your review for the Queens of R&B. Okay. This is going to be your review for the Queens of R&B, season 1, episode 2. Hey, Mahogany, how you doing? Tasha pissed you off? Child. You just got home, little baby? Okay, boo. Well, let me get to my notes, honey. Let me go. Ooh. What up, Nate? I need to call you, too. I need to call you. I'll give you a call tomorrow when I get off work. So, we pick up where we left off. We are still dealing with the aftermath. I mean, they still in the mix of this fight. The two sisters and the mama, now they outside. So we know a lot has been cut out. We know that stuff has been cut out. We know it's been edited because now they outside and the cameramen are way on the other side because remember, mama told them to turn the cameras off and get out her house. She said, if you can't turn those cameras off, you better get out my house. And so we know that a lot has been switched up because they're outside now. But what hasn't changed is that Tamika is upset. Tamika is crying. And Tamika is still talking about how Rocky and Tasha stole her money, how the mama knew about it, and the mama never did anything. She never stood up for her. She never had her back, even in the midst of her, even in the midst of them stealing her money. Now, we've talked about this all week. I think this has been the topic of discussion all week. I know I did a live about it. I know all my other YouTuber friends have done lives about it. Tasha dropped a video that had all of us talking about it all over again. And honestly, at this point, either you're just going to believe Tasha or you're going to believe Tamika. Because I don't think Tasha going to ever admit it. Now, what Tamika going to have to probably do it, I don't even think she should do it, honestly. But I feel like if she want to show the paperwork at some point, if it gets too out of hand and it gets too hurtful for her, I should say. I mean, she can always drop the paperwork because I believe her. Now, that's my opinion. I don't know these people from a hole in the wall, but I do believe her. And by the time I get done with this review, I'll tell you guys why I believe her. But baby, I feel like she could pull out them records. Now, I just feel like she can. And Tiny has already supported it. I saw somewhere on Twitter earlier today where Tiny sort of, she didn't come right out and say it was true, but somebody was like, well, how would he be able to steal her money? And Tiny was like this, ... She didn't come right out and say it was true. But she was basically saying it was true. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Corey, what's up? Blaming everyone from Candy to Tamika, but not herself. Boo, we gonna get there. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. So then we see Tamika, Candy, and Tiny meet up. Back over to the candy factory. And let me say this. I need y'all to pay attention to Candy's face when they are talking about this, because Candy's face tells the whole story. Because, of course, Tamika is recapping what happened when she went to go talk to her mom and her sister. She's telling them the story. We don't need to rehash that. But she goes on to say, I have always had my sister's back. I stood up against my sister even when she was wrong. And baby, them faces that Candy was making confirmed it. Candy was like, And Candy even said, she said, Tamika has always supported her sister, even when it was to the detriment of the group. She had her sister's back no matter what it was. No matter what it was, she had her sister's back. And then she plays us a voicemail from her mom where basically her mother told her, I can't believe you did that to me, that you came over here. And she said, if I hear about you basically talking about your sister again, I'm going to kick your tail. But I don't want to talk about nobody's mama, so let me be very careful about this because I don't know this woman. All I know is what I've seen on a reality show for 5 minutes, okay? But what I will say is this. You got a whole lot of fever for Tamika about saying what happened or what allegedly happened to her money, but I ain't see you with that fever for her sister leaving her at the daggone Las Vegas after they had to end the concert early because people was outside powing. I would have been upset about that. I would have had some words to say to her about that. But you had a whole lot of fever for Tamika about this, but you ain't had no fever about what happened down to the Las Vegas. Rocky was Tamika and Tasha's manager at the time, so he had access to certain. Absolutely, that's exactly how he did it. He was their manager. Bam, that's it. Who was that I was listening to? Color Me Pink. Color Me Pink, you know, she's a writer, and Color Me Pink said that there have been times where money has been sent to her publicist and not sent to her. Checks have been mailed to her publicist and not been mailed to her. So it does happen, depending on what information people have for you, what your last known address or contact or whatever. That is just where they're going to send it. Hey, KK, what's up, girl? Now, while this is going on, Tasha is talking to Rocky. Now, I don't mean no harm, but I don't know if y'all heard what I heard, but I feel like Rocky was throwing a threat Tamika's way. Now, I don't know if y'all heard what I heard, but Rocky was like, first of all, I want to know. He ain't say nothing about what happened. He talking about something, I want to know how my name came up. He ain't say nothing about whether it was true or not until Tasha said it ain't even true. He was like, yeah, it ain't true. He just want to know how his name came up. And then he said, I just want her to be clear, know that if you bring a person's name up that didn't have nothing to do with nothing, then you need to be ready to deal with the consequences. Now, if this man truly is innocent and he did not take this woman's money, then I can understand him being upset, and I can understand where he's coming from to say, listen, don't bring me in the middle of this mess. I didn't take nobody's money and I didn't have nothing to do with it. Like, I could definitely understand where he is coming from. But to be like, I mean, what are the consequences? You going to sue her? You going to tell some of her business? I mean, what are the consequences? What consequences are we speaking of, sir? That's all I want to know. I'm just curious. What consequences you talking about? But okay. But basically, Tasha said it's not true, and she's hurt by it. And until Tamika makes things right with their mom, she really don't have nothing to say. Until you do right by my mama, I don't really have nothing to say to you right now. And again, I do, taking the money part of it aside, I could definitely understand her saying, he's the reason R&B Divas Atlanta is no more. Who? Rocky? Oh, you know what? I didn't look at R&B Divas, so I heard that Natasha was on there, and I never did look at it, so I don't know. I never looked at Atlanta. I looked at R&B Divas LA with Michelle and Chrisette Michelle and stuff. I never looked at Atlanta. I think I might have looked at 1 or 2 episodes here or there, so I don't know anything about it. Retro, you have the link if you want to come up. If you have the link, you can come up. I mean, you have the link if you want to come up. Agreed, the mama should have had smoke about Latasha leaving her sister, and Rocky's words definitely was a threat. And okay, so I ain't crazy. The man was threatening her. Now, again, if he is innocent and he didn't steal that money, then, I mean, maybe he's threatening her with a lawsuit or with defamation. But I don't think that's what he meant. He's a used car. I think that's a nice way of you calling that man a name. But Natasha said that it's not true, and like that's what I was saying. If in fact she really does feel like Tamika was lying and she disrespected the mama, but again, I just feel like that's a deferment. I feel like that's a tactic to defer from the real issue, and the real issue is did you take your sister's money? Like, that's the real issue. And here's the reality of the situation. Let's assume for me, let's just walk down that road, y'all. Let's walk down that road. Let's assume that Tamika is misunderstanding something. Let's assume that Tamika is misunderstanding something and that they did not take her money, which I don't believe it. I believe they took that girl money. But let's just assume Let's walk down that road for a minute. You and Rocky need to sit down with your sister and show her the books, show her the deposits, show her the withdrawals. You need to show her, because here's the reality. Until we clear that up, I'm going to always feel some kind of way. Because she allowed you to get away with it, but she feels some kind of way about it, which, ain't nobody getting away with that. Listen, you might get 20 up off me, but you ain't getting 30,000. And I had to pay taxes. No, you're going to have to show me that you didn't take my money. Hey, Elizabeth, you're going to have to show me that you didn't take my money. I'm sorry. Now, that's just what it is. You have to show it to me. Call me Missouri. I'm the show me state. Now, why ain't nobody here? Nobody denied nothing. All I heard was, I can't believe she would put this on TV. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard, how dare she put our private family business out there in the streets. That's what I heard. I'm with you. That's what I heard too. Hold on, y'all. Let me share this out. I forgot to share out the video, child. Shout out to the 74 people in the chat. If you guys could please hit that like button. I appreciate y'all much. I know it's other people live talking about it, so I appreciate y'all being here. And for the people that are pulling double duty, thank you for making me one of the double duties. Okay. Now, we're going to get back to the sisters. Let's talk about SWV for a minute, okay? We got a nice montage of the ladies and their family time, so let's just go one by one. We start off with Miss Lily. Now, Lily permanently lives in Atlanta now. She said she moved to Atlanta after her mom died in 1995. She said she moved to Atlanta in 96, so she would be closer to her mom's grave. So I'm assuming her mother was buried in Georgia. She said that she lost her father shortly after she lost her mother, which made her sister the matriarch of the family. We have this really cute scene with her and her sister. Her sister's cooking breakfast for her, and they're cute. They're cute. She's one of 4 sisters, and she said, basically she just wanted to make some money. Like she said, we grew up in the Bronx. We didn't have a whole lot of money. I had to share a twin bed with one of my sisters, and I wanted enough money to be able to buy my bed. I wanted to buy my own bed. She said, but she sort of got a little sidetracked because she got pregnant at 15. So she got a little sidetracked. She said, but my mom would watch my child, I think it was her son, while I would go to the studio with the girls. Now, if you want to get into how they met and all of that, child, go watch their Unsung. They talk about how they met and everything. But she said, that with the first thing she did with her first real check was buy herself a bed. Okay. Then we see Taj. Now, for those who do not know, Taj is married to Eddie George, former NFL player, and I think he currently is the football coach over at Tennessee State University. And they have been married for a long time because they got married in the 2000s, I believe. They have a son who's a senior in high school. He plays football as well. And she said that their central place is Atlanta. When they're rehearsing, when they're getting ready for a show, they meet in Atlanta because it's sort of a central spot for all 3 of them, because Coco lives in Virginia, she lives in Tennessee, and then, of course, our Lily lives in Virginia. So that's a good spot for them to all meet up. She had a daughter. Thank you, a daughter. The mother told on herself and on Tasha, too. Ooh, tell me how she told. That's how Tasha paid for her gastric bypass. You know what, Elizabeth? I'm not doing this with you. They're not doing this with you. Okay, I'm not doing this with you. I'm happy they're still together too. So she says that when she goes home, she said that, sometimes she's in Atlanta for up to a month at a time. And she said her son has always known her on the road. Like, she's always been that mama, and her son doesn't know any other lifestyle. She said, but when she goes home, she's SWV, she leaves it at the door. She's a mother, she's a wife. She leaves all of that at the door. And again, it looks like they have a good situation. I'm sure it's not perfect. I'm sure they've had their ups and their downs, but they look cute together. She said that she's going to really make some time because this is her son's senior year in high school, and he's going to be, she was like, it's going to be a lot of last things, a lot of first and a lot of last, and she doesn't want to miss them. Like, she really, truly wants to you know, spend that time with him for his senior year in high school. So we have that. Lily needs to buy a full silverware set and cooking utensils so she has a bed. Tasha has a nice family cook, goes very support son. That's good. Miss Edith, listen, as a bachelorette, let me tell you something. When you live by yourself and you've been living by yourself for a long time and you don't have to worry about nobody but yourself, there are certain things you just don't care about. If I go in the drawer and I have enough utensils to eat what I need to eat, I don't really care about having a whole bunch of spares. Okay? I feel her on that. Like, I got enough forks for me. Now, she could use buy a few more, but girl, I feel her. So, Coco, we see her flying home to Virginia. She lives her mother lives with her. She said her mother have always been close. I feel like, she said that, and I always knew that my mother would end up living with me again, and it works for them. She has 2 sons. Her oldest son is a rapper, and she was talking about his numbers on the internet. I guess he's good. Her younger son, we know, he's now getting into singing, and they're on TikTok together, and he's singing on TikTok all the time. I know he's LGBTQ. I'm not sure what letter he identifies with. I'm not even sure if he is his pronoun, so I'm not being disrespectful. Not to be disrespectful if that's not his pronoun. But and then he wants to get into singing now. And again, we got some good family vibes, which I feel like we need after the heaviness that we are getting from from Xscape and all of their bull that they have going on with their situation. It's great to see SWV and it's good family life. Okay, so those are the ladies. Now let's get back to the story. So Taj meets up with Tamika. And she's like, girl, so how everything going? Has your sister changed her mind? And she was like, girl, no. She said, as a matter of fact, I think it might have got worse. And she told her what happened. Now, at first, I was like, all right, now, Tamika, now you, girl, don't just be running around telling everybody what's going on. But then I was like, you know what? Tell your story. Because I feel like she's been holding on to this for years, protecting her sister. Tell your story, Tamika. You have every right to tell, because it's your story. That was your story. That's your situation with the group you were in for 30 years. With your mama, with your sister, with your money. Tell your story. What I can respect, I can respect that Taj was like, I can't imagine a mama doing that. That's messed up that your mother would do that. She said, but you do need to go, you need to apologize, and you need to talk to your mom. Like, I appreciate that. Hey, what's up, Keisha? I appreciate that she said, listen, you need to talk to your mom. And she gave her some really good advice about what she needs to say to her mother. But what Tamika said when she was talking to Taj, let me tell y'all something. I don't know if y'all was listening like I was listening. But there was some important things said in this episode that make all of it make sense to me. What she said was, she asked her, well, why would your mother do that? She said, I've always looked out for my sister. I've always had my sister's back, and my mother never has my back. I've never felt like my mother loves me the same way. And she was like, well, why would your mom do that? Why would she? And she said, well, why did you always feel like you had to defend or have your sister's back? She said, because whenever I wouldn't have my sister's back or agree with my sister or go along with my sister, then she said, I felt like I had to do that to get my mother's acceptance. And whenever I would go against my sister or didn't agree with my sister, that is when I was ungrateful. That is when I was told that I didn't love my sister, or I wasn't a supportive sister, and I wasn't a good sister. And so I did that to gain my mother's acceptance. And I said, you know what? It all makes sense. It all makes sense. So now when you rewind the clock, let's rewind back to the 90s when Xscape was doing what they were doing and going through what they were going through. And like Tamika said, I always had my sister's back. Even when she was wrong, I had her back. That's why. Because the consequence, see, here's the thing. Sometimes people make the bad decisions because the consequence of making the right decision is way more of what they want to deal with on the back end. If Latasha was wrong and she sided with Tiny and Candy over Latasha, the hell that she would have had to deal with from her mother and her sister way outweighed anything she felt like she had to deal with from Candy and Tiny. And that's just what it sounded like to me. Now, again, that's my opinion. Y'all ain't got to agree. But that's what it sounded like to me. Like, look, I deal with y'all being mad at me. I deal with y'all cussing me out. I deal with y'all not speaking to me. Because at the end of the day, I love y'all like a sister, but y'all not my sister. But my real sister over here, the consequence that she's going to give me for not agreeing with her, it far outweighs any consequence that y'all can give me. And that's just the fact. That's just the fact. Now, that's what I heard. Now, y'all tell me if y'all heard something different, but that's what I heard. Tasha was the goody two-shoes sister. She did whatever their mother told her to do to a T and some more. Tamika was the one who marched to the beat of her own drum. Taj was the right person to talk to, because Coco, I don't think, would have been able to have the empathy that Tamika would have needed. And Lily, I think, would have been like, girl, just cuss him out and let's go get this money. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like Taj had the right temperament to hear it, receive it, and give some good advice. And that doesn't mean that Coco and Lily are bad people, but I don't think they would have been able to receive it the same way. Thank you, Satra. Satra said I'm on the right path. Thank you, child. Virgin love. And so that's how I felt about that, right? That is how I felt about that. So with that being said, let's go on and get into this next scene, child. We ain't going to be here all night, honey. We ain't going to be here all night. And Lily would be me. Lily would have probably been me too. Like, I would have had empathy for her, but I think a part of me, I would have had empathy for her, but I don't know if I would have had the patience for her. And what I mean by that is, I think in my mind, I'd have been like, but you 40 years old. Like, girl, let go. You married, you have kids, you've created your own family. F them. And I don't even mean it like that to her mother, because I would never tell somebody that today about their mother. But I have had, that is such a toxic, it is, Janae. And that's why I would have been like, girl, listen, I have friends who have had toxic parenting. And you have to be very careful. Like, I would never say to somebody, F your mama. I wouldn't say that. But what I would say to them is, you're 40 years old. And if you have never, no matter what you've done, have been able to get your mother's acceptance, it ain't going to happen today. Today ain't when it's going to happen. If you don't have your mother's acceptance today, you ain't going to get your mother's acceptance. Like, that's just what it is. And so that's my opinion. And again, that's no, I wouldn't say that to nobody about their mama, but I would be thinking it. But Taj was definitely the right one for her to have that conversation with. Because, like I said, Coco would have had no understanding. Coco would have been like, girl, why you call me here? I just feel like Coco would have been like, girl, if this ain't about money, I don't know why I'm here. And I just feel like Lily would have been like, girl, let's get this money. Like, forget them. Let's get this money. So I feel like Taj was the right one. Okay. A child loves a parent unconditionally. The child, ever grown, wants a mother's love. Exactly. And I get it. I definitely, like, especially sitting here talking to you guys, I get it. But I mean, I feel like that would have been my attitude, though. that would have been my attitude, child. So then we see the ladies meeting up down at Tiny's lake house, child. Y'all, I can't imagine being in this room, because this was uncomfortable to watch. And I know we got an edited down version. This was uncomfortable to watch. Tiny, Candy, Tamika were meeting about what we're going to do about this SWV tour. Are we in? Are we out? Management, that came up as well. So The one thing they said, and listen, I feel like the producers of, I need to see if it's the same producers that produced Potomac, child, because they are giving us the shady, let's go to the tape edit, because Candy said Tasha can't talk to us, can't commit to doing the show with SWV because Rocky wasn't there to tell her what to say. And did they not cut to her in her confessional, and Rocky coming up to her and whispering in her ear? And when production asked him, what are you telling her in her ear? This mofo said, I'm telling her what to say. Again, totally confirming what these women have said about Rocky for the last 20-something years. They have said that about him, that he controls her and that she does what he tells her to do. This man didn't even have no qualms. He didn't even try to pretend. He didn't try to lie. He said, I'm telling her what to say. Oh, you didn't hear Elizabeth? You didn't hear him say that? He said, I'm telling her what to say. And the producers, in case you didn't hear him, the producers put it on the screen because he was walking away from the mic when he said it. They put it up on the screen so you could read. He said, I'm telling her what to say. Yeah, I know Mona Scott is the producer. I mean, the company that they use, because the editing is reminding me of Potomac, honey. But yeah, and y'all know Mona Scott gonna give it to you. Mona Scott is gonna give you the juice, honey. Mona Scott gonna give you the juice. You were watching the verses? Just like Tasha does whatever the mother tells her to do. Tasha has no identity, which is almost sad from the other side, because, hey, what's up, Miss Wright? It's sad from the other side, because on the other side, now you see that Tasha is almost a victim as well, because she went from one controlling relationship, her relationship with her mother, to another controlling relationship, a relationship with her husband. And so, because I know people are going to be like, I feel sorry for her. But when you look at it from that point of view, she's a victim in this too. And she needs therapy, because she needs to work that out about why she is allowing herself to be in these relationships that don't allow her to have a voice, where she is controlled. Because she went from one relationship to the next, her mother to her boyfriend. I mean, to her husband. Well, I mean, he was a boyfriend at one time. Virgin Love say Tasha is just a dressed up puppet. There you go. I agree. Rocky chose Tasha because he could see the insecurity and low self-esteem in her, probably. Because people who are like that, that is what they're trained to do. They're trained to identify the insecurity in people. That is what they're trained to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Miss Ray says she don't know if this gonna hold her attention. Child, this holding all my attention, but I feel you. Everything, different strokes for different folks. So they go further into the meeting, and they're like, do we really want to? Are you? They were asking her, are you? Have you ready? Have you made a decision about doing the show with SWV? We want to get this money, girl. Like, we want to get this money. And she said she got prey on it. And that's when Candy said, you ain't got to pray on it. You got to talk to your man and tell he ain't going to tell you what to do. Okay, when Rocky whispered in Tasha's ear, I was like, blink 3 times for help. Exactly. Look, listen, when they asked him what he said to her, I was expecting him to be like, oh, nothing. I was expecting him to be like, oh, I was just, flirting with my wife. Like, I was expecting him to play it off. That man said, I'm telling her what to say. Yeah, I know I done said that 3 times already, but I'm so shooked by that. I am so shooked by that man being so blatant and saying, I was telling her what to say. Yeah, I'm shooked. Hey, Tan. So then Candy says, Well, I think we need to look into new management because we've had this management for a year and I don't really see where they've done anything for us. And Tiny was like, exactly, we came up off of the verses and we should have had all kinds of offers and all kinds of stuff going on. And we didn't really had nothing. And I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand that versus that is still one of the most popular verses out of the whole series that they did. I don't know the numbers, so I can't say it was the number one, but I believe it was in their top 5. I believe it was in their top 5. And it might have been number one, but I can't say for a fact because I ain't looked up the numbers. But I definitely would go out on a limb and say it was in their top 5, maybe even top 3. I think Monica Brandy was their top rated one, I think, but don't quote me on that. I know that the Patti LaBelle Gladys Knight one was a top rated one as well. But neither here nor there, it definitely brought in a lot of attention and a lot of numbers. And I agree. What did your management do to follow up? How did your management capitalize on that? I just feel like something more could have came out of it. You know what, Elizabeth is cutting up in the chat. Now I am shooketh by his overbite. Oh, we about to get to that, Tan. Ooh, we about to get to that one. So Tasha said, look, I'm be honest with y'all, I can't have no... Oh, the management happens to be friends with Rocky and Natasha. So again, there's that connection to them. But Tasha says, I can't think of nothing and I can't make a decision about nothing until Tamika makes it right with my mom. Like, me and Tamika got some stuff that we need to deal with, and I'm not talking about it amongst the group. I'm not talking about it right here, but Tamika needs to make it right with my mom, and until then, we ain't really got nothing to talk about. Like, you disrespected my mom, and I don't want to talk about it right here. And so Tiny was like, girl, go on and say what you need to say. Like, we all family. And then I think either Tamika or Candy was like, we already know what happened. Just talk. Like, we need to talk. We need to clear the air. Just go on and say it. And Tasha was like, And she got up and she grabbed her purse and she proceeded to leave. And Candy was like, I didn't think we were done. Like, we had more business to discuss. Like, we got more to talk about. And she said, until Tamika makes things right, we don't really have nothing to talk about. Like I said, y'all, I know for me, that scene was uncomfortable to watch. And we saw an edited version of that meeting. That meeting was edited down to 5 minutes. I know they were there probably a good hour, maybe longer. But that meeting was edited down to 5 minutes. Can y'all imagine how uncomfortable that room was for Candy and Tiny? I could cut the tension. The minute that girl walked in the room, they were sitting there making the mimosas and talking. I could cut the tension. And she said that the only reason why she was there is because of her love for Tiny. Now, they said all along that Tiny is the peacemaker, and Tiny is the only one that has always gotten along with everybody. Tiny ain't never had no real beef, no extended beef with none of them. They said she the only one. And so she said, the only reason why I'm here is because of my love for Tiny. She got up and walked her happy tail out that room. And Tiny walked her out to the car, and she told Tiny, listen, I can't focus on nothing until Tamika make this right. And I'm not, basically, that's it, that's all. I don't have nothing else for y'all. Child, let me go to my notes, make sure I done said before we move, because we almost at the end, honey. We almost at the end. Tamika blindly protected her sister, Tasha and Rocky. Says it's a lie. Oh, it's a lie, child. They say that they stealing people money. Okay, Tosh, Tamika. Okay, I got that. All right. Okay, Coco at home with her mama. Okay. All right. So then we get to the last couple of scenes. So we see Candy at the factory with her A&R team, I guess. She's in the studio making more music. Candy, Candy girl, we want you to write music. Yeah. Yeah, we want you to write your music. And I love me some Candy. Okay? I do. Hey, see, that's what happened. I done dropped the top to my water. I love me some Candy, but I want Candy to write her music. Okay? But here's another gem they done dropped on us tonight. Here's another gem they done dropped on us tonight. And I hope y'all was paying attention. If you go back to the original origin story of how Xscape fell apart, Candy always accused, thank you, Andrea Boo. Candy always accused Tasha of sabotaging the group because she wanted to go solo. Tasha always accused Candy of being jealous of her because she was singing all of the leads. I say both things can be true at the same time. Candy did have an issue with Tasha singing all the leads because she felt like Tasha was setting herself up for a solo deal. They also said the fact that she was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri was an issue too, but that's another conversation for another day. We ain't talking about that. They ain't bring it up, so I ain't gonna bring it up. They ain't bring it up, I ain't gonna bring it up. But they also had said that was part of the problem too, was that she was sleeping down to the studio with Jermaine Dupri. Now, but Tasha, you told on yourself. See, here's the thing, Tasha. All of these years, I maintained that both of those things were probably true. That there was, because that's what happens in groups. The thing about a group where everybody think they can sing is that everybody want to be the lead singer. That's just what happens. And Candy was starting to write the music, and Candy was working with Jermaine in the studio. I mean, they was doing other stuff in the studio, but they were working on hits in the studio. And I'm sure that when Candy was writing these songs, she was writing them for her. I promise you. I believe that. But Tasha, you told on yourself. And I'm going to tell you how y'all don't know how Tasha told on herself. I'm about to tell you how Tasha told on herself. Because Tasha said it's a lie that they said that I was trying to set myself up for a solo deal. But then in the next breath, she said, I mean, I was blessed to have a solo project. And somehow it got shelved. Somehow. She didn't say it was shelved because I couldn't get along with the producer. She didn't say it got shelved because the record company decided to go in another direction. She didn't say it got shelved because the material just wasn't good and the record label didn't think I didn't have a strong hit record. Somehow it got shelved. And then she said, Candy, she worked on a solo project too. And her solo project came out before mine did. And mine was never released. And hers came out. You told on yourself, Tasha. You do have resentment towards that woman. You do have an issue with Candy. And you do blame Candy for your album not. She said, I just think that the timing was a little suspect. What you think? Candy had something to do with your album getting shelved? You think Candy did that? You really think that Candy had the power to get your whole album shelved, and Candy didn't even have the power to get herself a lead song on y'all's group album? That's what you gotta make this shit make sense. You gotta make it make sense. So Candy had the power to get your album shelved, but she didn't have the power to give herself a lead song. Now, if I'm tripping, other than Jonathan, because Jonathan just don't like Candy, so he don't count. But other than Jonathan, help a sister out. Am I tripping? Am I reading too deep into it, y'all? Because that's what I heard, and I said, oh, girl, you just told on yourself. You just told on yourself. Now, if y'all didn't hear what I heard, tell me I'm tripping, because y'all know I love y'all, and I'll listen, and I'll believe y'all. Other than Jonathan don't get a vote. But if I'm tripping, tell me I'm tripping. Candy didn't have the power, but if you sleep with the right person, anything is possible. Okay. See, okay. Miss Behavior said, listen, if you sleep with the right person, you might get the right outcome. Okay. That could be true. That could be true. Come on, what y'all, give it to me. Give it to me. But also, if you sleep with the right person, why you can't get yourself a lead on the album? Why you can't get yourself a lead song? You sleep with the same person. I mean, if we talk about Jermaine Dupri, she was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri when they was in the studio making the Xscape album, and she couldn't get herself what she wanted on the Xscape album. How she got the power to get a whole project shelved? Now, here's the thing. If you've been following this, like I've been following this, because I'm a sister, I grew up during this time period, and so I've watched the Unsung. I've heard Candy's version of the story. I've heard, what the other group had to say. If you go back to Xscape's Unsung, when they tell y'all what went down, they explain why her album got shelved. Her album got shelved because the record company didn't think that she had a hit record. Period. Do y'all know how many artists get their albums shelved? Do y'all know how many artists have been offered solo deals out of their group? We can go back and look at probably half of the groups from the 90s. The R&B groups from at the height of R&B in the 80s and 90s, every single group, and I'm strong to say every single, so I'm going to say 90%. 90% of every group lead singer has been offered a record deal. That's it. Do you know how many of those records are still sitting archived somewhere? They might not even been transferred to digital. They might be still sitting on a reel-to-reel in a basement somewhere at some warehouse in New York. Do you know how many people are offered a solo deal and the album never gets released? It has happened to so many people. So for you to make it seem like there was some grand conspiracy for your album not to come out, ma'am, it happens a dime a dozen. It happens all the time. I don't know why she's crying about an album show, because Candy and even the voice of SWV Coco had flop albums. Exactly. Let's call a thing. Tasha has hate in her heart. She's hateful. That's it. That's all. Now therapy will help, but Rocky has to prove. I ain't doing this with you, Virgin Love. Ciao. Jonathan. Jonathan. She just don't like Candy. He just don't like Candy, child. He just don't like Candy. Now, I will say this, and I don't know Candy from a hole in the wall, but one thing we have seen on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and again, Jonathan don't count, okay? But the one thing we have seen on the Real Housewives of Atlanta is that Candy is a grinder and Candy is a hustler. Now, that don't mean that Tasha isn't. That don't mean Tasha wasn't working and Tasha wasn't grinding. But we know that Candy is a grinder and Candy is a hustler. That's all I'm going to say about that. And Xscape girls need to take notes from New Edition. All the mess that group has been through, and they still come together and tour. Shout, they could take a lesson from SWE. Didn't you hear Coco tell them last week? I don't talk to these girls. We get on stage, we make our money, and we go home. They not friends. They don't pretend to be friends. They don't pretend to be anything more. They get on stage, they make their money, and they go home. They don't talk. Coco told y'all last week, I don't talk to them if it ain't about business. Now, they had to figure it out. They had to go through their growing pains. They had to go through all of this. But they fast forward. They get on stage. They make their money and they go home. Candy is very consistent in everything. I mean, again, you don't have to like Candy, but don't. That Candy is Candy grinds. Some groups just work together as groups. Not everybody is meant to go solo. Everybody's not Destiny Child. Thank you, everybody, and that's the reality, Joseph. That you are telling the truth. You ain't never lied. She didn't have a hit just because she has talent, just because her energy, and that husband of hers, nobody wanted to work with her. I think on Whitney Houston. And you know what? Retro, that is absolutely, and I think some other people said that too. That was the other thing that came up in the unsung. It wasn't just her album. People didn't want to deal with him. People didn't want to work with Rocky. Now listen, I don't know how many of y'all saw the Jennifer Hudson version of the Aretha Franklin movie, but if you ever saw it or you see it in the future, it happened. You saw it happen in the Aretha Franklin movie. Her husband / manager, the guy that she was married to in the, I guess, early 60s or whatever, I think it was her first husband. Well, I'm sure it's her first husband. The guy who the character Marlon Wayans played in the movie. Marlon Wayans, character played in the movie. People didn't want to deal with him. And it cost Aretha Franklin her career early on career. It cost her because people didn't want to deal with him. He was a thug. He was rude. They didn't want to deal with him. So sometimes it's not about the talent. It's about who you choose to have around you with the talent. New Edition's lead singer solo album didn't go far. Exactly. Ralph Tresvant's album did all right. I think he had 2 songs off of there that people probably know, unless you're real big into R&B. But if you talking about radio hits, he had Sensitivity, and then he had Stone Cold Gentleman. Unless you're a diehard New Edition fan, you can't name 3 more songs off of his album. And the whole time New Edition, what did everybody want Ralph to do? Go solo, go solo, go solo. Everybody around Ralph has been more successful than Ralph has. Johnny Gill, Bobby Brown, BBD, all of them have been more successful in their solo. Well, BBD ain't really a solo, but in their outside of New Edition projects. She definitely needs to blink twice for help. Yeah, she does. Why do husbands that manage their wives' careers such a bad thing when it's a family business? It can be a good thing. There are some people who are managers of their significant others, and it's a good thing. It's not about. I don't think it's always that a husband should not manage his wife or vice versa. I think it's who it is, whether they're qualified to do it. Because here's the thing: everybody can't do it. Everybody can't do it. Patti LaBelle's husband managed her, and I think he did. He managed her very successfully until they got divorced. I'm trying to think. There are people who were managed by their significant others, and it. Sorry, y'all. And it works until, and for some people, it does work. I'm sorry. Yeah, but again, it doesn't work for everybody, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it automatically is a bad thing, but I think it definitely can be a bad thing when you don't have the right person. That's how I feel about it. It's a family business when they're doing good business. There you go. That's a good way of saying that. It's a family business when they're doing good business. It worked well for Celine Dion, but we ain't gonna talk about that because listen. The Celine Dion story don't work the same in 2023. I'm just saying it don't work the same in 2023. If you really go back and you do the history and you get the facts about the Celine Dion story and her husband, it don't really translate well into 2023. But anyway, okay. So last but not least, I just feel like Tasha told her herself in that scene. For me, you basically spilled the tea on why you do have a problem with Candy, but to hear Tasha tell the story, but to hear Candy and Tamika tell the story, Tasha never liked Candy, so I think that issue it does go deeper. Tasha gives narcissistic vibes. Her husband has an issue also, but she's got some self-absorbed energy. Yeah. When you're stealing family and clients' money, that ain't good business. So Rocky is a big part of why she is the way she is, unsuccessful. Well, so last but not least, we see Tasha and her husband flying out to Nashville to take a meeting with Motown Gospel about an album. And what we find out is Xscape doesn't know that she's taking this meeting and she's planning a solo album. Now, let me say this to y'all. Rocky act like he didn't know that Xscape didn't know. He was like, what? What? Oh, I thought she told him. Oh, I didn't know she didn't tell him. Now, I don't know if the man lying or not, because he could be very well telling the truth. I don't know. But to me, I feel like it's history repeating itself. Selective outrage, the issue is not her husband. Okay. Who's the issue then? Tell me what the issue is, Jack. But to me, it's history repeating itself. And I feel like while these women are sitting here having a conversation with you, they've tried to have this conversation with you at least 3 times. And they've tried to talk to you 3 separate times about doing something with SWV. And you've come up with every reason why you don't want to do it other than you trying to record a solo album. You didn't. Jab, well, tell me what it is. She's in the wrong. I don't think any of us are saying she's not wrong. But I think we also can identify that her husband has some issues as a part of that. He's her manager. And again, you don't have to agree. That's fine. The devil singing gospel songs. So, with that being said, I feel like history is repeating itself. And I feel like she has an obligation to let her group know if she has a conflict that is stopping them from making money. Because the reality of the situation is they can't do the show with, well, they can because they are doing shows without her. But in that moment, they probably felt like we can't do the show without her. So she needs to tell us, are we doing the show or are we not? And she done found every reason except for, I'm working on an album. I'm trying to get a record deal. So I can't commit, or I don't want to commit because I may have other things that's taking up my time. And I feel like, again, we 40 years old. We are 40 years old. At what point can we open our mouths and be honest and say, listen, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not. I've been wanting to do this for the last 20 years of my career. I have an opportunity to do another solo album, and I want to do it. I have another opportunity to make another solo album, and I want to do it. Open your mouth and use your words. But for you to be putting them off and keeping them on hold, you got them and SWV on hold while you're over here taking meetings about doing a solo album. You should be honest with them and said, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. That's how I feel about it. And for her to be sitting there in that studio, in that meeting with those executives and her husband. Now, the one thing I will say that I agree with Jap on is she has an obligation to have that conversation with her group. And she should have had that conversation with her group in that last meeting before she took her ass down to Nashville. Because again, she doesn't have to say yes. But I feel like she does have to let them know that the answer is no. Because you doing a solo album is bigger than one show. You're not saying, well, I can't make this show because my son has a basketball game and I want to be at his basketball game. You're talking about a whole album, project, promotion, touring. You talking about a whole lot of that for me. And I just feel like that is what she owes her group. And y'all been doing this too long for you that you can't even sit there and be honest. You sat there and put it on your sister. You did you everything. Who is to say if she said no? What if she did? Huh? Who is to say if she said no? Her mother has also emboldened her behavior. She feels empowered by throwing monkey wrenches into her sister and others' mix. I agree with that. I definitely listen, Jack. I don't know if you're just getting in here, but we have definitely listen. I have enough blame to go around, and I'm not saying that everything is Tasha's fault. But what I'm saying is what we have seen in these last 2 episodes, in my opinion, a lot of it falls on Tasha and her management, who is her husband. That's my opinion. I love the fact that Coco has a normal house. Mm-hmm. Well, Coco went through a really bad divorce. I'm nobody's psych or anything, but Latasha is the same 16, 17-year-old that holds resentment of people overlooking her talent and being known as the big girl of the group. I do feel like she needs some therapy, and I don't know if she's had therapy. So I guess I will be making an assumption. I don't know. She may have had therapy, but I agree. I 100% agree that she could use some therapy to work out some issues. I think the group could use some therapy, and I think her sister, and her mother could use some therapy. Let's sit down. But here's the thing about therapy. Therapy only works when you're ready for it to work. Therapy only works when you're ready to be honest. Like, I could tell people all day long, I think you need therapy, or I think you could use therapy would help you. But until you're ready to be honest, and the thing about therapy that's so hard is a lot of people are not ready to look at that mirror and accept what's coming back at them. A lot of people aren't ready for that. And that's the hardest part of therapy, is being able to see what's looking back at you. And then, just like anything else, once you uncover the problem, now you got to fix it. That's like when you're driving down the road and your car keeps click, 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 clicking, click, 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 clicking. You're like, damn, something is wrong with my car. Taking it to the shop ain't the problem. It's when that mechanic come back and show you it's going to cost $1,600 to fix the problem. Now you got to deal with the issue. Now it's, well, shit. I guess that clink, 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 clinking going to get me from A to Z. But at some point, the car going to break down. And then you got a bigger problem. And I feel like that's what we're seeing right here. Tasha, her sister, her mother been clink, 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 clinking all these years. And it's finally broken down. And now they got to deal with it. And it's ugly. And it's expensive. For Tamika, it's $30-something thousand expensive. No shade. She did look like Denzel Dion back. I don't know who Denzel Dion is, but okay. I don't know who that is. She got rid of the weight, but she still feels insecure. Yeah, because that gets embedded. That's a process. That's embedded. Therapy should not be used as a Band-Aid. I agree. The husband was the problem on R&B Divas. Butterfly, you're the second person to say that. I didn't look at R&B Divas, but you're the second person to say that, so I believe you. I believe the first person who said it. All right, it's 180 people in the chat. If y'all could please hit that like button, I would appreciate it oh so much. If you are not subscribed to the channel, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's free 99, y'all. It is free 99. Go on and take care of that. Make sure I'm caught up on the comments. 1,600. Yeah, you know how you go to the shop, baby, and you be like, oh Lord, they the click, 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 clink, and cost me $1,600. But the alternative is you let your car break down in the middle of the highway. How much of the royalties will Tasha be able to live off of if you don't stop being so mean and do this group tour to make that money? She don't be real quick. What? How much of the royalties will Tasha be able to live off of? Right. Okay, I think I know what you're saying now. If you don't stop being so mean and do this right so you can make this real money. Yeah, I got you. I got you. First of all, no, we need to do this tour so you can pay me back my money. How about that? How about we need to work so you can pay me back my money? Shoot. All right, y'all. Let me get off of here. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate everybody. Again, it's 184 people in the chat. If you could please hit that like button on your way out the door. And again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And I will talk to y'all later. It's too easy to just blame her. But that's it. Okay, let me finish reading your comment. Her husband didn't grow up with her or was there in the beginning. Tasha was just as foul before the management husband showed up. So here's the thing. I don't disagree with saying that Tasha has a responsibility and Tasha should be held accountable. But what I think in my opinion, where we're disagreeing is I think there's enough blame to go around. I'm not blaming Tasha for all of it. I'm not saying Tasha didn't do that. Tasha's the only person that has behaved badly or has allowed situations to fester. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying that when it comes to Latasha, I think her husband's influence. Did you not see on there where that man was telling her what to say? Where he was telling her how to answer these questions? I agree. Her mother, from what we saw, and you go back to the beginning, you'll hear me say that the mother, from what the 5 minutes that I've seen of the mother, in my opinion, has behaved badly. The sister, the Tasha and her husband. I think all of them have a part in this. That's my opinion. No, her sister said that for her whole life, Tasha was having to defend her. No, Tasha didn't. She didn't say Tasha had to defend her. She said she's defended Tasha. Oh yeah, I normally don't look at all that stuff, but I'm gonna look at Speak on it. Yeah, but see, Jack, I think the part you're missing that we're talking about is if Latasha's low self-esteem and issues of having grown up with her mother controlling her, she put herself in a position to date that type of a man who did the same thing. And I can't speak for men, I can speak for women. A lot of times we as women, we do that. We go out and we end up dating or we end up marrying the person who raised us, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, you ever heard the term women date their daddies? You know what I'm saying? And in this case, she went from a controlling home environment with her mother, in my opinion, into a controlling environment with her husband. Yes, Tasha absolutely should be able to speak up for herself, but we see she can't. We've seen it in this episode. Rather than tell her group mates, listen, I don't want to do this show with SWV because I'm trying to get a solo deal, she came up with all other reasons. So I hear what you're saying. And we just disagree and it's okay. Like, it's okay to disagree. I just feel like we absolutely can put some of the blame on Rocky. And I absolutely feel like we could put some of the blame on the mama. But you're right. Tasha bears the brunt of it because Tasha's a grown-ass woman. But she clearly, in my opinion, she really needs to figure out how to process. The checks were mailed to her house. No, according to Tamika, according to Tamika, the checks went to Rocky. And he cashed them. According to Tamika last week, Tamika said the checks went to Rocky and he cashed them. That's on Rocky, if it's true. The concern is I have too many times our sisters look to blame brothers for bad behavior. This means you can't ever get to the root of what's wrong. Again, no to her house in Rocky. Okay, so it's all okay. Okay. So we're pulling at straws now. Okay, if they were mailed to their house and Rocky cashed them, how is Rocky not part of the problem? How is Rocky not part of the problem? You knew that wasn't your money when you cashed it because it wasn't made out to you. And it wasn't made out to your wife. It was made out to Tamika. Why wouldn't you have made sure Tamika got her money? You see what I'm saying? Why is none of that on him? Tasha's response. Okay, Jab, baby. Okay. I think I'm gone. Because we're going to go in circles all night. I'm gone. Candy just said on Speak On It that allegedly the checks were being full. Jesus, let me go on over here to speak on it. I'm about to get out of here, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Mwah. Good night, y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Appreciate you.